Hello and welcome. Today we will visit another classification algorithm, and it is called support vector machines. Support vector machine is a very popular classification algorithm used along with kernels for nonlinear classification. Of course, we can use logistic regression for nonlinear classification, but support vector machine has a kernel trick which can be used on it, which is very effective for nonlinear classification. And in this video we will visit the maths behind support vector machines, and we'll see how it works and what is the improvement it can make over logistic regression. Okay, so this proof is quite complex. I'll try to make it simple. In case you still feel difficulty in understanding that, there's nothing to worry. You can still use the support vector machine library of Python, and just the takeaway will be for nonlinear classification it is very effective, and you can continue to use the library. So let's get started. There are a few preliminaries that is required for support vector machine related to linear algebra. We have visited few. We will just revisit them again. So first, the concept of vector addition and subtraction. Okay, so let us consider 2 points in a two-dimensional plane. The coordinates may be a and b. A is actually a1, a2, and b is b1, b2, and as you know, it's actually a vector. So these coordinates actually represent some sort of direction, these vectors a1, a and b. In that case, if these are the two vectors a and b, then the vector a minus b is given by this one, this vector c. Okay, that is a vector from b to a, which is actually a minus b. Now, if you remember, I mentioned that vectors are mostly vectors are actually directions which are mostly represented from the origin. However, it can be represented at any position, but it's a direction of and the coordinates represent the displacement on each of the directions. Okay, so c is not represented here from the origin. We can pull it to origin to understand. So this is also c. Okay. So now what is a then? A is actually b plus c. Okay, so you can move c to the end of b, and b plus c actually gives a. Okay, so this is the vector addition and subtraction. After that, there's one more concept. Suppose again let's consider two vectors a and b, and again they represent some sort of direction, and let's consider the angle theta between them. Okay, so the cosine similarity of these two vectors, which we had earlier discussed in one of our prerequisites class, so the cosine similarity is actually the dot product of these two vectors divided by the norm of these two vectors. Norm is actually the length of these two vectors. So the cosine similarity is the dot product divided by the product of the norm of these two vectors. Okay, so the cosine similarity, or the cos theta, the cos of the angle is actually proportional to the dot product of a and b, and we know that cos theta is 90 degree. So the dot product we know that cos 90 degree is 0. So the dot product of a and b in that case will be 0. So in the reverse way, we can say that if the dot product of a and b is 0, then the angle between these two vectors is 90 degree. Okay, so if we find that the dot product happens to be 0, then the angle between them is 90 degree. Okay, so these are the two linear algebra concepts that is required to understand the maths behind SVM. Okay, and another thing, another recap of what is a norm, or how do we measure the length of a vector a, which has coordinates a1, a2 to an. It's the norm is square root of a1 square plus a2 square till an square. Okay, in this case it is only two coordinates a1 and a2, so it will be square root of a1 square plus a2 square. Okay, in n-dimensional space it will be like this. Okay, so let's move ahead. So this is a quick recap of logistic regression. Okay, so in logistic regression we find a boundary line or a decision boundary, and we learn the weights w0, w1, w2, and using those weights we can infer that the decision boundary is w0 plus w1 x1 plus w2 x2. But logistic regression is an optimization based algorithm, and it can find multiple weights, right? It can converge at multiple rates. There's not a single line for which this happens. It can happen for any of the lines that we see in this second picture, right? So all are classifiers, and all classifies the coordinates or the plane into two halves, and the classes, opposite classes, belongs to the two different halves. So anyone can be, so for different sets of w0, w1 and w2 we get different lines, and the logistic regression may learn any of these lines. But our intention will be to find the best possible of these lines, which is the best classifier. So in case there are many points, how do we find which of these can be considered as the best classifier? So if you consider this picture, suppose the black line is the best classifier. Why? Because using this black line, with the closest points, this red dot and this red dot, okay, the closest points, that is this one and this one, okay, to the of the opposite classes are at the furthest distance. So we may draw some extra margin around this line, which will have no points of any classes around it. And how we do that? We try to push the closest points of opposite classes, or the closest observations of the opposite classes, at a maximum distance. So we try to maximize this margin between the closest points of the opposite classes, and these closest points are actually called the support vectors. These are the support vectors. So how do we use this? How do we use this to draw this extra margin and find the best possible line using these support vectors? Is the maths behind support vector machines. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So let's consider that we have found the weights of a line that passes through these 2 points, x1 and x2. Okay, that is one of the margins. Okay, so and the another is the margin which passes through this screen point, which is, this is a positive example, and this may be a negative example. So one of the line passes through 2 of these positive lines, and this is the widest boundary. So the actual line is somewhere in between here, okay, in between these 2 points. Okay, so let the equation of this line be wx equals 0. Actually it's wx plus b equals 0. I have it's like this, wx plus b equals 0. What I have done is I have taken an extra x in the form of 1, which is the product of b and 1 actually, and that x includes both x and 1. Okay, so x equals both x and 1 is considered as an x, and in that way we can represent it as wx equals 0. Okay, so it consumes the bias term as an x. Okay, and so the weight of the bias term is also consumed, so b is a part of w. Okay, so now, so we know wx equals 0, and we know x1 and x2 are points on that line wx equals 0. So we have wx1 equals 0 and wx2 equals 0. So we can say, by subtracting these two, we can say wx1 minus x2 is equal to 0. Okay, so what does that mean? That means w is if you go back to my first slide, the basic concept of cosine similarity, so that is the dot product between w and the vector x1 minus x2 is 0. Okay, which means w is perpendicular to the vector x1 minus x2. So what is x1 minus x2 vector? We know x1 vector and we know x2 vector. From the concept of vector subtraction, x1 minus x2 is this vector, which is actually on this line. Okay, and we can say it's parallel to this line. So this is a direction which is parallel to the direction of this line. of this wx equals 0, this separator, this boundary line. To understand, let's pull it to origin. So if you pull this vector to origin and draw this vector with reference to origin, it looks like this, and is parallel to both this boundary line and this boundary line, and should be also parallel to the actual separator line which is in between these two boundary lines. Okay. So what should be the w vector in that case? Now here we are taking the w vector as a unit length vector. So let the length or the norm of w be 1. Okay, and w we know is perpendicular to the x1 minus x2 vector. So this is the x1 minus x2 vector, and w is perpendicular to it. So this is a let us consider this of unit length, and it is perpendicular to the direction of x1 minus x2. Okay, so let's see how it looks over here on this line, and it should be something like this if we just draw it over here, this direction over here. Just remember, vector is a direction. It can be the same vector can be drawn on any location. Usually we draw it with reference to the center. So now I have drawn this vector over here. Okay, so w, this is a unit vector perpendicular to this plane. Okay, so what we now want to find out is what is the width of this margin or this border. Okay, let us call this width. Let us call this width L. Okay, sorry, and let the measure of this width be called as L, and the width can be found by dropping perpendicular from one of the parallel lines on another parallel line, right? And let us drop a vector of length L in this direction. Okay, so we drop a vector from this parallel line onto x2. Okay, and again, since this to find the width, it should be perpendicular to the parallel lines. It's in the direction of x2 again, so it's parallel to x2. So it's again, it can be drawn parallel to x2, but its length not x2, perpendicular parallel to w, and perpendicular to the plane of x1 minus x2, and its length is L, and whereas w's length is unit length. Okay, so this one we can say this vector is w vector, which is of unit length and has a L multiplier to it. So this vector is actually, or this perpendicular is actually L times the w vector, right? And okay, so I hope this concept is clear, and let's call this vector z. Okay, let's call this vector z. So the z vector is actually L times the w vector, because it is also perpendicular to the plane, and it has a measure of, or its width is actually L, and w vector is unit length. Okay, so now let us consider the actual equation of this line, which will not be wx equals 0. Wx equals 0 will be the actual boundary line. Okay, so let this line be wx equals 1, and let us again pull out the b from the equation and write it as wx plus b equals 1 is the equation of this line, and maybe wx plus wx equals 0 is the line somewhere through here. Okay, that is, this is wx plus b equals 0. Okay, and this one is wx plus b equals minus 1. Okay, so this line is wx plus b equals 1, and this line is wx plus b equals minus 1. Okay, and if we can find the w, then we will get the equation of this line, which is wx plus b equals 0. Okay, and w and b we have to find. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's see. And we know z equals L times the w vector. Okay, okay. Now if you have a close look, let's consider the point from where we dropped the perpendicular on x2 on this parallel line as x3, and let us consider it as a point on the plus plane. That is one of these green points which resides on this line, and that is also a support vector. That is one of the points closest to the line. okay, and if we drop a perpendicular from that plane, from there, to measure the vector z, so the origin of that, if we consider a point over there, let us consider that point as x3. So you can see here we have x2, x3 and z. Okay, so z x3 plus z is equals to x2. Okay, and we will use that. Okay, so we have this z. So just see, if you see by with the concept of vector addition, you can revisit the first slide and you will find out that x3 plus z equals x2. So now we will use these concepts. Okay, so I draw this z vector over here from origin also to understand how it is L times the w vector. Okay, now let us see, z equals L times w vector, and w x3. Now x3 is a point on this line whose equation is wx plus b equals minus 1. So we can say wx3 plus b equals minus 1, and x2 is a point on wx plus b equals 1. Okay, and we know z equals L times w. So we can write also from this triangle that x2 equals x3 plus z. Okay, it's drawn separately over here to understand. So x3 and z, and this is x2. Okay, for that is a vector addition. Okay, so we can replace the z by L times w, and we can write x2 is x3 plus L times w, and then we can take this equation wx2 plus b and replace x2 by x3 plus L times w, and we get this equation. Okay, just we rearrange this equation and we get wx3 plus b plus L times w dot w is 1. So we can see wx3 plus b is actually minus 1 here, right? wx3 plus b is actually minus 1. Okay, and if we solve that, we will get that L is actually 2 divided by w dot w, and so we want to maximize this width. Okay, so we want to maximize this width. So we can convert this into a minimization problem by minimizing w dot w by 2. Okay, so just we take the inverse and we can consider this as a minimization problem with these constraints, that wx2 plus b equals minus 1 and wx3 plus b equals 1, and we can take some characteristic variables and convert this into a single equation and apply some calculus to solve this minimization problem using a Lagrangian, and we get this final equation. This is alpha is the Lagrangian, and this is half of summation of alpha I alpha j yi yj and dot product of xi xj. So I and j represent the indexes of the support vectors. So you can see it depends on the dot product of the points. And how is this term getting boosted is, if you see, if you have a negative term here, and yi and yj are the characteristic variables, which is minus 1 for a point in the minus plane and plus 1 for a point in the plus plane. So yi yj will be actually minus 1, and if xi and xj are very close, that is very similar, they will be close to 0 degree and they will be close to 1. Cos 0 degree is 1, right? So that is the maximum value, and with this yi yj from opposite planes, and if these are similar points that is close to the boundary line, they will yield the highest positive value, which will cause the minimization to get boosted. So we get the best classifier with the points, similar points in the opposite planes, opposite directions, or the opposite classes, right? So which are again which are the support vectors, that is the similar points, which are the closest points but in the opposite classes. Okay, so this optimization equation tells us again what are the support vectors. So using these support vectors, we can find w, the values of w, and also the width, the maximum width that is possible, and that is how a support vector machine. And once we get w, we know the equation of this line is wx plus B equals 0. B is again a part of W, you know, it's the bias term, so we can find both W and B. Okay, and that's it. So that's how we get a very wide margin in support vector machines, and it has been proved to be a very efficient classification algorithm. Okay, but I mentioned that support vector machine is actually used for nonlinear classification. Okay, and is very effective there using a kernel trick. So I'll not go into the details mathematics of the kernel trick, but I'll still try to explain how this kernel trick works in a very high level by drawing some analogy. So suppose these are the blue points and the red points. They belong to two different classes, the positives and the negatives, and we cannot draw a linear classifier between the points. Okay, you can see there's we cannot draw it. There's no linear classifier that separates this. Okay, so using kernel function, it's a kind of a function which transforms the points and finds kind of you can think of finding new features, and finding new features means adding new dimensions to this. So it transforms actually, if we could conceptualize the equation of the some polynomial equation of this separator, so we can use the same reverse transform function to straighten it out, and that is the kernel function which will help us to find new features of these points in the form of new dimensions. And suppose here we add one more dimension, which is a new feature we find using the kernel function, and then we can see that the points can be easily separated by a linear separator in this 3D plane, right? So the blue points are more towards the top, and the red points, which are looking yellow here, are more towards the bottom. So now we can draw a linear separator in the form of a hyperplane, right? A plane, it's a plane actually. So in n dimension the separator will be called a linear separator, will be called a hyperplane. Okay, so we can find, now we can draw a separator between these two because we have found some new features, and that has elevated this. So the x and y's remain same, but when we look at it from a different angle, suppose we move to the side of it and we find a third dimension to it, then we see that there is a separator. So this is a separator, this hyperplane is a separator, and we can find the equation of this plane. So this is how a kernel trick can be applied to find a non-linear separator. Okay, so that's all about SVM. I hope that was I was able to explain you. So there's a lot of linear algebra, so it was also quite challenging for me. I hope that was that you could understand that. Okay, so see you in the next video. Thank you.